Some of these concerns include allegations of fraud and abuse, but the concerns are racking up faster than they can be addressed.
I've also heard people who get contract funding misusing money.
America, Minneapolis just paid $10 million of taxpayer money to a former gang member to stand on the street corner and reduce tension. And this week, 4 teenagers got shot at a Popeyes. You genuinely cannot make this up, guys. I've tried. Can't be done.
Investigators say just before midnight Friday, a suspect opened fire along a business corridor on West Lake Street. All 4 victims were treated at the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries.
But you guys, here's what makes this even more special. The same city that can't account for where $10 million in violence interrupters money went also can't account for where the daycare fraud money went and the autism billing fraud went. Minneapolis has built an entire economy around spending money on things that don't work.
Our presence is showing our love for the community, and it's also deterring crime from happening.
What is up, you guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. 4 years ago, that was the pitch. We know these people in a different sense than they implied. Let me show you exactly where the $10 million went and why Popeyes is still a crime scene. Let me quickly set the scene for you guys. South Minneapolis, Lake Street and Park Avenue. This is designated as a high priority zone for these violence interrupters. The city specifically deployed contracted organizations to this area. Their literal job, as described in their own contracts, is to be, quote unquote, on the block and aware of tension. 4 teenagers got shot at a Popeyes in a high priority zone where the violence interrupters were contracted to operate. Now, to be fair, you guys, I don't know exactly what time the shooting happened. Maybe the violence interrupter was on a break or something like that. Or maybe they were at the drive-thru, the Popeyes. I don't know. Maybe the chicken sandwiches were really good that day and they lost track of time. These things happen.
It's personal to me. You know, it's nothing more rewarding than somebody, you know, coming to tell you, thank you for saving me and thank you for helping me change my life.
The city council plans to authorize the group a year-long $700,000 contract next month, along with 4 other similar organizations that have to meet certain standards.
You know, violence prevention has an evidence-based model behind it, so we can be able to show the level of the impact that you're having and know does that strategy work tonight.
Including the number of 911 calls and level of police response, he says has decreased since the group's office opened here 3 years ago. Except Abdullah Had says that new contract now forces his well-known team in bright yellow shirts to downsize from 32 to just 7.
You want to be able to spread out and have the right capacity to be able to engage and, you know, disrupt whatever is going on in that area. And I'm in one of the busiest corridors in the whole city of Minneapolis.
Look, this man clearly believed in what he was doing, and I'm not questioning his sincerity here. I'm questioning whether paying somebody who used to run the streets and stand on street corners, now has a different title with a city paycheck, materially reduces the number of teenagers getting shot at Popeyes. The data, which doesn't exist, suggests maybe not.
This police tape, the only remnant of the gunfire that sent 4 teenage boys to the hospital and a suspect still at large.
That could have been me, you, or anybody, even other small children there just at Popeyes to get something to eat, and bullets went flying.
Community activist KG Wilson decrying the violence.
Under the Joey Biden administration, verbatim quote from the reporting, millions were handed out based on verbal updates rather than hard data. No wonder why kids are getting shot at Popeyes. That's not a grant program. That's basically a tip jar at the Starbucks. You show up, you say things are better in the neighborhood, you collect your check. That's the system. That was the system under the Joey Biden administration. And for 4 years, Minneapolis called it public safety. Now, let me explain the fundamental theory of these quote-unquote violence interrupters, because it's not just in Minneapolis, you guys. It's in Chicago and Baltimore and all this other stuff. Because these programs are entirely not crazy on paper, the idea is you hire people from the community who understand the specific culture, who have relationships with the people most likely to commit these violent acts or violence in the area, and you use those relationships to de-escalate things before anything gets physical. That's the theory. Here's the practical problem. The kind of person who has these particular relationships and credibility to do that job effectively also is the person who made those relationships by being in the game, being a former gang member, being a former drug dealer, current gang affiliates, people with records. And Minneapolis, to its credit, knew this going in. They just didn't think that it would actually be a problem.
That some violence interrupter groups were getting millions of dollars, but they did not properly, she says, document how they spent that taxpayer money.
And that comes with receipts and canceled checks. These came with no documentation at all. So it was just a piece of paper with an amount and pay me, basically, which is not okay.
How much money are we talking, roughly?
We're talking several $million.
Billing for hours that nobody could account for, combined with criminal histories that should have flagged additional oversight. This is a fraud hat trick here. Let me connect this to something that we've been covering fairly extensively on this channel. We've talked about these Somalia daycare frauds. We've talked about the autism billing fraud. We've talked about the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, the feeding 16,000 meals a month. All of it, every single one of it happened in Minnesota. All of it, government money. All of it, the same structure, minimal oversight, maximum trust, invoice submitted, Somalia's cashed a check. Although still a grift, in my opinion, the violence interrupter program isn't a separate scandal here. It's the same scandal in a hoodie and baggy jeans instead of a child care facility.
Not supposed to be any gaps in services right now, so that's a huge gap. And as you can see, the uptick in violence has just been spiking.
This is Minneapolis's version. What we saw in Portland with Sandstone Way. Audit flags the problem. Leadership says, we'll review it, they said. The contracts get renewed anyways. And the only thing that gets actually paused is accountability. The money never misses a deposit. Now here's where the story goes from embarrassing to genuinely absolutely staggering. While the city of Minneapolis is spending $10 million, you guys, on violence interrupters to quote unquote calm South Minneapolis. The family mob, we covered them in a previous video. This family mob gang was allegedly running a wide open fentanyl operation at Lake Street and Park Avenue. The same intersection, the same exact block where multiple contracted organizations were being deployed to be paid to be quote unquote on the block and aware of tensions. It took 14 federal search warrants and 8 SWAT teams to dismantle it.
Are the community-based groups of violence interrupters in local neighborhoods. They work to steer people away from crime, but another interrupter was just charged for a murder that happened in Northeast D.C. Today, 7 News was at a hearing where the agency responsible for the program and public safety in the district was questioned.
I confirmed today that a man charged this month with killing former college basketball star Blaze Bozeman was a violence interrupter. Violence interrupters get paid with tax-paying dollars to help prevent crime. Investigators say 43-year-old Frank Johnson was the second man arrested for killing Bozeman. The other suspect in the shooting, Cody Wynn, was also a violence interrupter at the time of the shooting.
Washington, D.C., a man paid to quote-unquote stop violence, charged with committing it. Different city, identical program. This is a national pattern. Like I said earlier, it's not just Minneapolis, it's Baltimore, Washington. DC hired a violence interrupter who allegedly murdered a college basketball star. Minneapolis hired people who apparently missed open air drug markets that required 8 SWAT teams to address. The common thread is the program is designed with quote unquote good intentions, zero accountability, and a hiring pool that comes pre-equipped with skills most likely to work against a stated goal. And Timmy Tampon Walsh, our favorite governor, knew about the fraud and told whistleblowers to stand down. This is the man who was in charge of Minneapolis while all this was unfolding. Just putting that on the record.
Mohammed Abdul Ahad, executive director of Touch Outreach, a violence interrupter group, is planning to coordinate with Minneapolis police to deploy safety patrols along the Lake Street corridor.
Just to find out if any of us had a relationship with those individuals or any type of personal ties to any of them, to try to, see if we can offer any resources.
I want to quickly do some math for you guys because nobody in Minneapolis has done it. And I think personally you'll find it very instructive. $10 million plus in Minnesota buys approximately 80 additional police officers a year, full salaries, full benefits. full training, 80 officers who have actual legal authority to intervene, who can make arrests, who are accountable to a chain of command, who wear body cameras, whose activity is documented, and who can testify in court what they witnessed.
Two groups we spoke with, Mad Dads and Touch Outreach, say after the council's approval, they hope to be out on the streets by April 1st. Now, a month later, and in the wake of multiple deadly shootings in the city, they say there is even more urgency.
It shouldn't be a holdup, to be honest with you. You know, we got lives that's out here just dropping, you know, that's dying. You know, people are out here losing their lives, and, you know, people are getting shot.
Whether it's violence and
Today, we spoke with Amanda Harrington, the incoming director of the Neighborhood Safety Department. Harrington is in charge of going over contracts with violence interrupter groups.
There sounds like there's been a delay. Why is that?
Negotiating the contract definitely took longer than we expected.
Harrington says the council did give contract approval, but her department still has to negotiate terms. Some of the recommendations she's considering include background checks, drug testing, and health insurance.
All of these programs, you guys, share one feature. The benefit is always difficult to quantify, and the money seemingly is very, very easy to spend. Translation here, this program has political protection that are more important than accountability. That is the pattern in Minnesota, where these programs serve specific communities become quote unquote untouchable, not because they work, but because questioning them is treated as questioning the community itself.
I was a big problem in these neighborhoods, and I was involved in everything: drugs, gang banging, all the above. I was a very harsh guy until I had an epiphany.
Some time in prison helped Sondre Burns realize he wanted to become part of the solution.
It brings trust to the people that we're meeting out there, because once they find out where we come from and that we connect on a whole nother level.
America, here's the thing nobody wants to say. The Violence Interrupter Program isn't a failed policy. It's the logical extension of a governing philosophy that says accountability is optional when the cause feels right. Minneapolis spent $10 million on violence interrupters, the same year that it was writing checks for daycare fraud networks, autism billing operations, and meal programs feeding phantom recipients. All of it wrapped in the language of community investment, all of it immune to audit because audits are politically sensitive or racist. Here's the prediction. The contracts maybe get renewed again, maybe not. The organizations submit verbal updates as long as we're under an administration similar to Timmy Tampon Walls. Somebody gets paid, and somewhere on Lake Street, something happens that a press conference will describe as proof more funding is needed. Minneapolis doesn't have a violence problem. It has an accountability problem. And 4 teenagers at Popeyes are the receipt. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.